Hello, welcome Panthers fans, Baker fans, Cleveland fans, NFL fans, all are welcome here to Inbound Panthers. We're going to be looking at a story of Baker Mayfield that I've heard is really good. I was recommended this video by some people on Reddit, on the Panthers subreddit. Check out Panthers subreddit. Yeah, it's supposed to be a really good video. I don't know, I'll be honest, I know things I know off the top of my head of Baker. Heisman winner, Oklahoma, underdog, walk-on Texas Tech, walk-on Oklahoma, #1 pick with the frickin' Cleveland Browns, okay? And he took the Browns to their first playoff win in 60 years or whatever it was. Long time, right? So basically, that's about all I know about Baker. Also, he's a fiery guy. He does the dance moves and all that good stuff. So I wanted to get a look. This is a kind of a video that shows his entire history in football. And because, I'm a Panthers fan, and at first I wasn't sure how to feel about Baker Mayfield. I looked up some of his stats. I looked up his film a little bit, looked at some games he played, and try to get a real picture of what this guy can be. And with my Panthers fan hat on, I'm going to say I think he can be really good. I think he has potential to be that top 12 QB. If he wasn't injured, he would have probably done that as well last year. Last year, he tore his labrum, and then he dislocated his shoulder, which, so he tore his labrum in week 2, I believe, and then in week 4, he absolutely shredded his entire non-throwing shoulder and just completely obliterated the shoulder. It was gone, and you can see that's why after week 4, you see a lot of inconsistency in his throws. He wasn't nearly as accurate and all that. So I think it was a situation where the injury really got the best of him. He should have sat out. He put out really bad tape. If he doesn't sit out, or if he does sit out, maybe you could make an observation that maybe he doesn't get traded to the Panthers, right? But maybe not. Who knows? Either way, I think a lot of his issues were kind of like Russell Wilson last year. Russell Wilson wasn't as good last year. He had a hurt pinky, or it was like a finger on his throwing hand, I believe. And he looked really bad, but no one's expecting Russell Wilson to look bad. Now, I'm not saying Baker and Russell are the same. I think Russell Wilson is better than Baker Mayfield. But I honestly think Baker can be that top 12-ish kind of quarterback. I think that's his ceiling, around top 12. So we'll see. Let's go ahead and get it right into it, okay? And this is a video by Microphone. Really good. We're going to go ahead and like that video. Let me move it out of the way. Microphone right there. Really good creator. Go check him out. That's where all this footage is coming from, just don't copyright strike me. All right.
Baker Mayfield is a bum as far as I'm concerned. And if anybody's got a problem with it,
The title is the biggest underdog in football.
for Baker Mayfield so we can give him some kudos about starting.
Baker Mayfield now has a third injury. He's never been a big athlete, small for the position.
I've never ever heard
Colin Cowherd hates Baker, bro.
that's come out where they said, well, he can be a starter. The #1 overall pick could be a 10-year starter. Is that all you're looking for?
Because Baker Mayfield isn't that talented. So, in turn, it is our fault, not his fault. It's my fault that I thought he should have went #1 overall. It's my fault that I expected him to be a superstar, that I expected him to be a Pro Bowl caliber.
Damn, this man went off. Holy crap.
He's not that talented.
Ryan Clark, chill.
The debate if Baker Mayfield's an elite quarterback. The answer's no. Next question, please.
Throughout his entire
All right, real quick. They need to show this little 50-second clip here of all the haters before week 1. Okay, Matt Rule, put it up on a big board and just give him that extra motivation. Give him that extra edge.
life, Baker Mayfield has been told that he isn't big enough. He's average at best. He's not clutch, or he's simply not good enough to play quarterback.
If Kyler Murray's big enough, Baker's big enough. Come on now.
Kid out of Austin, Texas, end up walking onto 2 Division I college football programs and end up winning the Heisman
Put the
Trophy
volume
just
up a little bit.
few years later. How did the same kid who went unrecruited after his senior season of high school football end up shattering rookie records with a team known for ruining quarterbacks? Baker Mayfield went from undraftable to the top prospect in all of college football, and from his entire childhood up until now, his life has been filled with ups and downs. This is the perpetual underdog story of Baker Mayfield.
When you say it like that, it's kind of legit. It's kind of crazy to think about. And we have that dude as the Panthers QB. For $5 million. That's cheap. Granted, we're paying Sam Darnold $19 million to be a backup. Actually, not even to be a backup, to be injured for the first 4 weeks.
Small suburb outside of Austin, Texas, and at the age of 3, made the decision to devote his entire life
Shout out
to
Austin,
sports.
Texas.
That's right. At the age of 3, a toddler basically turned to his mother one Saturday morning and said, "From now on, I'm only watching ESPN." While growing up, Mayfield would really only do 3 things. He would play football.
What
and baseball
3-year-old
with
wants to
his
watch
friends,
ESPN?
and when he came home, he would go swimming in his pool. This isn't very different from most kids growing up, but what was different was Baker Mayfield's tenacity and charm. That charm would help Mayfield plan and plot not only different games for him and his friends to play, but they even pretended to be the professional athletes that they looked up to so much. As the years went on, Baker and his family were ultra competitive with everything. However, from a young age, Mayfield learned that despite his competitive nature, his physical stature might be holding him back. When he was a freshman at Lake Travis
Wow,
High
young
School,
Baker.
Baker Mayfield was listed at 5'2"
Young
on
Bake.
the depth chart. However,
5'2"?
Mayfield's high school football coach remembered seeing him for the first time and said, "I remember thinking, well, if little old Baker would ever grow, he'll probably be a stud."
Little did he know.
Never started in his freshman year. He never even started in his sophomore season. Hell, he wasn't even supposed to start his junior season either. The truth is, Baker Mayfield had to work for his chance to play quarterback and tried to show out every day in practice just so that he could finally play on varsity.
The grind.
His dedication finally paid off when he got his chance. The first chance Baker got to start in his whole life was in his junior season, but only after starting quarterback and Mayfield's friend Colin Legaze had been injured in practice. For a first-year undersized starter, you'd probably expect a docile quarterback who threw once or twice every drive and mainly ran the ball. However, Baker Mayfield in his first year starting threw 45 touchdowns to just
Gunslinger.
5 interceptions. He had 3,788 passing yards and won his school's 5th straight state championships in football.
Pretty good.
Mayfield followed up his junior season with a senior season in which he played 5 less games. So as a result, his numbers naturally dropped to nearly 2,500 passing yards with 22 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions. Not
Dime,
bad whatsoever,
okay.
but just not as mind-blowing as the year before. However, during his senior season, football wasn't his main priority.
Okay, one thing I'll say about Baker Mayfield, man.
During his senior
This dude has like one move when it comes to rolling out of the pocket. He rolls out to the right. That's like his move. He just rolls out to the right. Every single play action I see, everything, he's just rolling out to the right. Rolling out to the right. Ooh, pocket's cut. Rolling out to the right.
season, football wasn't his main priority. Mayfield's family had been going through rough times financially, and as a result had to sell the family's home in Austin, Texas. And since they didn't have much money, they had to live in one house one month and move to another house soon after.
Damn.
During his senior season, Mayfield didn't have stability in terms of his living situation, and the adversity he was experiencing just seemed to make him better. When asked about growing up in Austin and people saying he was handed everything, Mayfield would respond,
Yo, this man
"One of the
outran his
main
block."
things that drives me to work harder to show that, in reality, I haven't been handed anything." Rivals.com ranked Baker Mayfield as a 3-star recruit after his senior year, but still for some reason no one would take a risk on the small kid from Austin. However, this adversity didn't stop Mayfield from quitting on
What a
football
cannon.
as he walked onto Texas Tech as a freshman and outplayed several quarterbacks on the team to make the final roster despite never being given a scholarship or even being invited to Texas Tech. But something was about to happen that would thrust Baker into the spotlight and force him to shatter record books.
Force him?
After beating out several quarterbacks on the roster, even those who were given scholarships, Baker Mayfield as a freshman was named the backup quarterback going into the 2013 NCAA season. However, in practice, Texas Tech's starting QB Michael Brewer sustained a back injury, thus thrusting freshman walk-on quarterback Baker Mayfield into the starting
Young
role.
Baker. Yo, y'all need to stop edging up your hair like this, man. I see this way too much, bro. Like, listen, we see through this facade. This ain't your real jawline. Like, stop trying to draw a jawline with your facial hair. We all see this under it. It's weird. You see this? Like, I haven't shaved at all, so don't judge me. Right here, this is right under my jaw right here. Shave this off and then leave the underside. Leave that hairy, right? So that way, look at my jaw, right? I have hair right here, but like this would what it would look like if it's shaved. Like this. See, that's clean right there. Now, this may be a bad angle just cuz like you're like this, but if your jawline drawn on by your facial hair is dependent on people looking at you solely from one angle, from the front, and that's the only way it looks good, that's a no-go. Anyways.
Making him the first ever FBS starter to walk on and start his first ever game of college football. Mayfield didn't disappoint either, as in his first career start, he had 5 combined touchdowns, over 400 passing yards, and even completed over 70% of his passes en route to a Texas Tech blowout victory over SMU. The hype surrounding Baker at this point was huge. In week 2, Baker kept the hype up as he tossed 3 more touchdowns and 350
3
yards.
tutties?
Rolled by Austin. Texas Tech would keep rolling, winning 5 straight, but after a string of bad games, including 5 straight games with an interception and a knee injury, Mayfield would soon be benched in favor of Davis Webb. Mayfield finished his freshman year with over 2,300 passing yards and 12 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. Baker didn't just pass the eye test. He aced.
Bro, every good QB throws like 5 picks. Like Patrick Mahomes threw 5 picks. Roger, like a bunch of like really good QBs throw a lot of picks in college, but that's just what it is.
Baker Mayfield would soon transfer to Oklahoma. So you might be wondering, what was that miscommunication? Well, Kingsbury, despite admitting Baker Mayfield was worthy of a scholarship, wouldn't give him one, citing the fact that they had no more to give out. As a result, if Baker Mayfield wanted to stay with Texas
Hey,
Tech,
sorry,
he would have
we
had to
all
wait
out.
until after their bowl game for one of the seniors on the roster.
Scholarship machine broke.
However, this didn't happen, and Mayfield would ultimately transfer to Oklahoma. Now, Baker didn't just randomly pick Oklahoma. Mayfield
How do you
grew up
run
watching
out?
Oklahoma, and as a result, he was engulfed by Sooner culture. Despite just playing in 8 games with
Yeah, our
Texas
starting
Tech,
quarterback,
he
yeah,
was
we just
first
ran out.
as
We
he
couldn't
wasn't
keep
eligible
like,
as a
bro, just tell
transfer.
me you don't
After
want me.
sitting out the 2014 season, in 2015, Baker Mayfield would go on to beat out not 1, not 2, but 3 quarterbacks on scholarship in order to win the starting job.
He got that dog in him.
Invite coming out of high school had just beaten 3, 4, and 5-star recruits in order to become a Big 12 starting quarterback.
Why is this man always dancing, though?
Oklahoma Sooner starting
I like it.
quarterback, Baker Mayfield did not disappoint. As
We have
he
a
threw
white Cam
49
Newton.
touchdowns, had 388 yards passing, and completed 69% of his passes. Under Mayfield's reign, the team would go on a roll, only losing to their Big 12 rival Texas by a score of 24-17. After that point, the Sooners wouldn't lose again until it was to number 2 ranked Clemson. So in his first year starting, Baker did not disappoint whatsoever, as he put up 3,700 passing yards on a 68%
36
while
touchdowns?
throwing 36 touchdowns to just 7
Ooh,
interceptions. Despite
ooh.
it being his first full year starting, Baker still finished top 5 in
This video really cemented Baker Mayfield as like
all while throwing
this video right here, him dancing, is like half the reason a lot of people we just even know about Baker like that.
touchdowns to just 7 interceptions.
And the
Despite
OU
it being
planting
his
the flag
first full year
thing.
starting, Baker still
Oh
finished
my
top 5 in Heisman voting and was now the new face of Oklahoma football.
Sam Darnold would never dance like that.
Gunslinger, but in his first game of that season, he would face his father's alma mater, the University of Houston. Mayfield did all he could to win the game that day, passing for over 320 yards.
When you dance like that, you just know you're one of the homies.
As he completed nearly 73% of his passes. But this offensive effort wasn't enough to stop Houston, who knocked off Oklahoma 23-33. Although Houston was ranked, this loss lit a fire inside of Baker Mayfield and the Oklahoma Sooners, as they would soon only lose one more game that season, that game being to number 3 ranked Ohio State. And the Sooners would end up winning the Sugar Bowl against Auburn by a score of 35-19, a game in which Mayfield had over 300 total yards and 2 touchdowns. In his full second year starting at Oklahoma, Baker Mayfield tossed nearly 4,000 yards on 70% completion.
Improvement, 40 touchdowns,
just 8
interceptions.
Mayfield was playing on a different level, and in that season included his most infamous matchup against Patrick
Oh, I
Mahomes.
remember this
In
game.
that incredible battle against his former
They threw
school,
for like 700
Baker
yards
Mayfield
each or
and
some
Patrick
shit.
Mahomes would combine for 125 points, and the two of them scored a combined 14 touchdowns on the ground and
Yo, look at that. Baker threw for 545 yards and 7 touchdowns? 7? Bro, Mahomes threw 734 yards, bro. 5 TDs. He threw the rock 88 times. Bro, what? That's more than double, Baker. That's crazy. They could not stop that man.
And passing and threw for a mind-boggling 1,279 passing yards. This season would earn Baker Mayfield third.
That is insane. That might be the craziest game ever in college.
One more year of college football. In just 13 games, Baker Mayfield had gone from a gimmicky quarterback who needed to prove himself to a top NFL draft prospect with a bright future ahead of him. In his final season of collegiate football, Baker Mayfield went on a revenge tour. Who does he want revenge on? The easy answer? Heisman Trophy voters. He wanted the trophy. To prove this, in his first game that season against Texas El Paso, Baker Mayfield nearly completed 100% of his passes. That's right, Baker had attempted 20 passes that game and had completed 19 of them. After this masterclass performance, Oklahoma would play against Ohio State, a team that
I don't care, bro. The Panthers are going to Super Bowl. I'm going to choose to believe this Baker has been laying dormant. Like, he has this latent power inside of him. That Cleveland Browns and the orange uniform of the Browns, orange and brown uniform, was just like, it was like suppressing it. And now that he's released and he can be in this beautiful Carolina blue, black and white, silver, this Baker will make a comeback. Prime Baker will make a comeback. College Baker will make a comeback. The Panthers having a good team, man. I don't know. It comes down to our O-line, to be honest with you. But
historically had Oklahoma's number for the past few seasons now, but with
I'm going to choose to believe right now
because nearly 400 yards on a 77% completion percentage, the Oklahoma Sooners were able to defeat the number 2 ranked.
I knew Baker was a baller, but I honestly forgot a little bit.
31-16. After the game, in case you somehow forgot, Mayfield would take an Oklahoma.
Yeah, I somehow did forget.
Ultimately ending up
no, not this. I did not forget this.
At center field, where Mayfield would plant the Sooner flag.
That's just lit, though. I'm not gonna lie.
After the uproar mainly consisted of butthurt Ohio State fans, but the others were old head football players and scouts who saw this not as a move of leadership and tenacity, no, but a move by someone who acted like a child and had acted like they had never won a big game before. Mayfield would
not leadership and tenacity. Meanwhile, all his teammates are like going crazy, like celebrating.
put these seniors
like he's not a leader. Meanwhile, all his teammates are like, "Let's go." Come on now.
Season antics to rest, however.
I'm gonna say it like Cam Newton said it, okay?
A few weeks later in a game against Kansas,
if you don't want to see me dance, don't let me score.
Baker would grab his crotch area at a fan, and in response to beating Mayfield, would say multiple times, "Stick to basketball."
A disgrace.
To Baker Mayfield on this one, was he really wrong? In his senior season, Mayfield put up his best.
Like, if you complain about a Heisman-winning quarterback talking shit, like, bro, come on. You're a beta.
Oklahoma State, in which Baker Mayfield had a combined 6 touchdowns and threw for 598 yards as the Sooners won their 8th game that season. But most importantly, Baker had just set the single-game record in Oklahoma Sooner history for passing yards in a single game. This performance was enough to finally secure Baker's 2017 Heisman Trophy. Despite taking home the nation's top award, Mayfield wasn't too popular amongst college football fans. In the 2017 season alone, Mayfield had done plenty of aforementioned things in order to get booed regularly. Regardless of his polarizing personality, the Cleveland Browns shocked the world when they selected Baker Mayfield as the number 1 overall pick in the 2018 NFL Draft. And in his first year, he would shatter a record held by Peyton Manning.
See, like, you see this? He's letting it grow out under his jaw. This looks better, right? He could edge this up right here. Like, I could, right here. You see, it's kind of going into my neck. You don't want a neck beard. You could edge that up, and I'm sure, hey, it's football. He's focused on football. He don't care how he looks. But you see the progression, not just in his game, in his ability, his mental, his physical, but you see the progression in his facial hair.
And Russell Wilson.
I mean, he's kind of cute.
To truly have appreciation for Baker Mayfield's NFL career, we need to set the stage a little bit. Ever since the Cleveland Browns
y'all been setting the stage.
Operations in 1999, they were consistently shuffling through failed quarterbacks. So when the Cleveland Browns selected Baker Mayfield,
Rip Delhomme is on there.
Pick, once again, everyone just assumed that this was going to be the latest quarterback in the long revolving going to be.
Hold on a second.
Pick. Once again, everyone just assumed. So when the Cleveland.
What are these quarterbacks? McCown, Dilfer, Derek Anderson, Delhomme, dude. Delhomme. I forgot Delone went to the
Browns
Browns.
selecting in an optimistic direction. Mayfield was wanted to finally be the franchise quarterback that Cleveland had been searching for what feels like forever. In his rookie season in the NFL, Baker Mayfield would be named the backup quarterback to
Browns.
Tyrod Taylor initially, but after an injury in Week 3 against the Jets, Mayfield would come in to replace Taylor, and in the process,
Browns uniforms are so ugly, man. Like the all brown ones aren't that bad, I guess, but the orange is just like
200 passing yards while also leading his team to its first.
the orange as an accent isn't that bad, but when most of your uniform is orange, it's kind of gross, especially with the orange helmet.
Baker Mayfield would throw for 3,725 passing yards, a rookie record of 27 passing touchdowns, breaking the past record held by Russell Wilson and Peyton Manning, and he completed nearly 64%
rookie records
of his passes. His rookie year was highlighted by a Week 11 victory over the Cincinnati Bengals, in which Mayfield threw for over 250 yards and completed over 70% of his passes and threw 4 touchdowns. Baker Mayfield in his rookie season had brought a team that had finished 0-16 the year before to a respectable 7-8-1 record. Mid-season, the team fired Hugh Jackson, and going into the 2019 season, the Cleveland Browns were motivated not to mess this up. They wanted Baker Mayfield to be as comfortable as humanly possible, so they asked Baker Mayfield, now that they fired, who he would endorse to be the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, which in hindsight wasn't necessarily the greatest idea, considering that Baker Mayfield was just
Yo, the entire football organization is there to set up your quarterback so that all he has to think about is throwing the football, the X's and O's. And you're sitting there telling me, I forgot about this. You wanna tell your quarterback to also be responsible for staffing, the coaching staff?
Coming off of his rookie season. So when he was asked who in the previous year's coaching staff he was the most comfortable with, Baker would point to his quarterback coach, Freddie Kitchens.
Bro, that is wild.
Result, the Cleveland Browns
I had no idea
Freddie Kitchens,
that's where Freddie Kitchens came from.
For one season, all the way
to be honest, I was not following the Browns that much.
Incredibly aggressive in getting
back
Baker
then.
Mayfield a true number 1 wide receiver.
Bro, that is wild. They let Baker pick his coach? Why would you ever do that?
In addition to that, they were calculated risks. After all, the Cleveland Browns went from 0-17 the year before to a 7-8-1 record. But as a result of these moves, Baker Mayfield regressed mightily in 2019. He didn't even complete 60% of his passes. He threw just 1 less interception than he did touchdowns, and the team would finish 6-10. Freddie Kitchens would be fired after just 1 season.
Listen, like as bad as that was, y'all saw the first year Baker had, right? It's a phenomenal year, right? It's rookie record, setting touchdown records, all that. Freddie Kitchens, I remember this. I remember after Freddie Kitchens became coach, I saw some of those games. Bro, they were the worst play calls I've seen like in a long time. Like almost ever. Pretty much what would happen, every play was like 4 verticals, 4 dig routes, like some crazy, everything's deep, no checkdowns, no like safety valve option, horrible tight end help. I remember this one game, I forgot what it was, like 3rd and 10 with like 2 minutes left in the 4th quarter or something. And they were down a score, and they were like running halfback draws on a 3rd and 10 with like, this is your last possession. This is the type of play calling that was going on. And from that play, it resulted in a tackle for a loss. Like they did not get any yardage with that 3rd and 10 halfback draw. I hate the halfback draw. It should just be completely erased. The halfback draw should only be used if you have like over 300 passing yards in like the first 2 quarters, and like the defense is completely abandoned the run game defense. Anyways, yeah, Freddie Kitchens was a horrible coach.
Baker needs to leave in order for Cleveland to
like abysmal.
So many questions with Baker. You got enough stuff with Deshaun Watson. Do you really want to answer questions about Baker Mayfield? I would pay the money. Give him a
Baker should feel bad though a little bit. I'd be like, yo, I got this man fired. Like I picked him to get the job. Why would you let your QB, your rookie quarterback, pick your coach? That is insane.
Easy to tell that Baker was never put into the right situations to succeed that season.
There you go.
You see, Baker Mayfield isn't your average quarterback. Mayfield does in fact struggle with his deep ball placement. However, he is particularly good at inside 20-yard throws, making the correct reads, going through his progressions, and keeping plays alive. However, Freddie Kitchens must have missed the memo, as in 2019, Freddie Kitchens called plays like he had Patrick Mahomes as his quarterback, and Mayfield's lack of ball placement was on full display for everyone to see in 2019. Keep that lack of ball placement in mind because it'll be important. But going into the 2020 season, the Cleveland Browns completely shifted course.
He became a really good deep ball thrower in the 2020 season,
who understood more
off the
than
play
anyone
action.
that Baker Mayfield wasn't going
So
to beat you
he
deep,
really improved
but
on
he
that
was going
front.
to beat you underneath. So as a result, the 2020 Cleveland Browns were once again on fire, and so was Baker Mayfield. Behind the running back tandem of Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, Baker Mayfield looked like a bona fide superstar. In a Week 7 shootout against Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, Mayfield proved that he had what it took to hang around in the AFC North, as the two quarterbacks combined for 8 touchdowns.
Let's go.
5 of those belonged to Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield was able to lead his team to 20 fourth quarter points, including a last-second touchdown to Donovan Peoples-Jones in order to secure the win, 37-34. Mayfield's stats once again soared up this season as he put up over 3,500 passing yards with 26 touchdowns to just
26 and 8.
But the stats didn't matter, as the Browns' whole season came down to their final regular season game versus the division rival Pittsburgh Steelers. For the Browns, the plan was simple. If you win, you're in the playoffs for the first time since 2002. The game was at first a defensive dream for both teams, as by halftime the score was just 10-6 in favor of the Cleveland Browns, and the only touchdown so far was a nearly 50-yard
Nick
rush
Chubb
by
is
Nick
a
Chubb.
beast.
However, after a few Steeler field goals, Baker Mayfield finding Austin Hooper in the end zone and a rare Jarvis Landry rushing
Shout out
touchdown,
Austin Hooper. I have
the
you in
Browns had
fantasy
the
as my
lead
TE2.
9-24 late in the fourth quarter. But after back-to-back fourth quarter touchdowns by the Steelers, all they needed was a 2-point conversion in order to tie the game and force overtime. But thankfully, the Steelers had Mason Rudolph as their quarterback that game, and so the Steelers failed the conversion, and the Browns had won the game, meaning that they had finished the season 11-5 and had made the finish the season with Mason Rudolph as their quarterback that.
Bro, like Mason Rudolph right here, this is a perfect example of horrible QB footwork. Like,
But thankfully, the Steelers
he
had
throws his
Mason
ball
Rudolph as
backing
their
up,
quarterback
flat-footed, and his feet are like right next to
that
each other.
game, and so
He never even stepped up into the
Steelers failed
pocket
the
right there.
conversion, and the Browns had won the game, meaning that they had finished the season
Like,
11-5 and had made the
If that
playoffs
doesn't make
for the
sense to you,
first
imagine trying to hit a baseball backing up.
Cleveland Browns' next
That's the
opponent
equivalent of what that guy's doing.
Pittsburgh Steelers
Trying to
in the
throw a
playoffs.
touchdown pass in the
This time,
NFL.
It would be at Heinz Field. The game would start off the exact opposite as their regular season game.
Like, you want to
As the
step
Cleveland
into your
Browns
throw.
opened up quickly
Not-
to a
not back up and then
28-0 lead after the first quarter, and by halftime the lead would falter slightly. However, the Browns still led at 35-10. In the third quarter, the Steelers scored twice, but in the fourth, with the help of Baker's third touchdown pass of the game, the Cleveland Browns led 42-23 and inevitably would hold on to win 48-37 in order to win their first playoff game since 1994.
Yo, I'm ready to see happiness
The Browns would then go on
on
to
this
face the
Panthers
Kansas City
sideline,
Chiefs
man.
in the divisional round.
I wanna
And
see
in a
some-
close game, the Browns had a chance to win the game. However, they played it a little bit too conservatively.
Some lit
especially
Baker
against the
moments.
Kansas City Chiefs, by deciding to punt the ball with less than 5 minutes remaining.
Ooh, that was a
and
stiff
never
one.
seeing the ball again, which would then lose them the game 17-22. Despite losing to the Chiefs, in the
So what you're
divisional
telling me it
round,
wasn't Baker's
all
fault.
was well
Okay,
with
I believe you.
Cleveland. I mean, they truly had a direction after their best season in 2 decades. Going into the 2021 NFL season, the Cleveland Browns and Baker Mayfield were looking to not only make the playoffs, but go deeper into the playoffs than the franchise had ever been previously. However, that would all change as just 2 games into the season, Baker Mayfield would tear his left labrum. Despite this, Baker Mayfield decided that if he played through injury, perhaps
I don't
he
know what the
wouldn't
labrum is.
but in week 6 against the Arizona
But it
Cardinals,
sounds
he
important.
would go on to dislocate his shoulder, but this time it would
Damn,
be
that
even
looks
worse.
brutal.
I fractured the bone because it wasn't gonna be like just a clean exit.
Right.
So I fractured the bone.
Yo, I've done that exact dislocation on my left shoulder, right here. Except I didn't fracture the bone. I did this exact move. I know exactly what this feels like. I did this in playing rugby in college. I laid out trying to get a tackle. Laid out trying to get the dude. I got the dude, but I landed right here in my armpit, and the ground just like pushed my arm up farther back than it will go. My shoulder popped out. I was like, ooh, I couldn't move. I was like, oh shit. It didn't hurt at all. Popped it right back in. Didn't tell nobody. Tackled another dude and just pretended it never happened. And to this day, honestly, I forgot it happened. Then I messed up my right shoulder big time. And that one I feel every single day of my life. But this one looks, I mean, he really fell forward, you know, like, God, like he's like sliding forward and his body's like scorpioning across his arm.
But I had the labrum
Sheesh.
done and that fracture.
And he had already torn the labrum before,
Despite
so
literally not being able to move his left arm, Baker would continue on to finish the season. To give you
y'all can say like, oh, it's his left arm, it's not his throwing arm, like it doesn't affect him. Yo, if y'all haven't had an injury like this, You don't understand how bad it is, because what happens is now your back starts pulling from your right side, your hips start cramping up, you start overcompensating with other muscles, your legs, everything. Like I remember my calves would get tighter and sore because I was like leaning more to my right than my left when I was doing athletic stuff. And it throws off everything in your body. Like yeah, don't underestimate, just because this is non-throwing shoulder, don't underestimate how badly that messes up, especially as a quarterback.
Before the team could finish, Odell Beckham Jr.'s father did no favors to Baker Mayfield's reputation, as he would take to Facebook to repost a low-light reel of Odell Beckham Jr. being wide open and Baker Mayfield missing him or not throwing the ball at all to him. As a result, the Cleveland Browns would send Odell Beckham Jr. home from practice, and a few days later would cut OBJ from the team. And this would cause a huge divide.
That looks worse to me, in my opinion, or OBJ than Baker. Like, how salty can you be?
In the Cleveland Browns locker room, because many people thought that Odell Beckham Jr. had the right to be upset. And what made things even worse is once Odell Beckham Jr. had a true pocket passing QB,
I don't like OBJ at all.
Absolutely dominated and returned to form. He would even go on to win a Super Bowl with the...
He won a Super Bowl, but like, you can make an argument that if OBJ is not there, they could just as easily win that Super Bowl. They had a very stacked team. It wasn't like OBJ single-handedly won the Rams a Super Bowl, right? They have literally the best defensive player ever in Aaron Donald. They had, Cooper Kupp, Stafford, like McVay, one of the best coaches, one of the most elite coaches in the NFL. Like, they're stacked beyond belief. They had freaking great special teams. The freaking Pro Bowl, like one of the best punters ever. And y'all say, oh, well, punting is not that important. Punting is super important because it can like negate 20 yards off your drive every single time if you have a really good punter. By the way, Johnny Hecker, we did sign that very punter to our team now. So he's with the Panthers now because we starting to realize punting is super underrated, right? You don't have to play defense if your punter is punting the ball 10, 20 extra yards deep, where they're starting every single drive 20, 30 yards deeper than they would if you had just a regular punter, right? That's 20, 30 yards worth of defense, time, everything that you get to stop. So it's incredibly important. Punting, especially kickers and punters, they don't get a good rep because they're not out there tackling and all that, but
later, this was absolutely unprecedented because never before
super underrated signing from the Panthers.
Family member, let alone his own father, released a series of plays that literally threw Baker Mayfield under the bus. Despite losing OBJ, the season continued, and although Mayfield did play,
every quarterback has a low light.
Whenever most athletes, specifically quarterbacks, try to play through an injury,
overthrow compilation, like come on.
Sustained, they're usually heralded as courageous heroes. But for Baker, nope. He was allowed to roast on an open flame as if he was a stuffed pig at a cookout. Despite Mayfield being the player who brought winning football back to Cleveland, despite them consistently being on an upward trend and playing with a tenacity only matched by the city he plays for, the team decided to trade for Deshaun Watson that offseason, thus isolating Baker Mayfield. Since the trade, Mayfield has come out and said,
I feel disrespected, 100%.
Mayfield hasn't been perfect his whole career, sure, but he's been solid. His career is still relatively young. He's only 28 years old, and his cap hit is $19 million. But despite all of this, the Carolina Panthers decided to trade a conditional 2024 fifth-round pick to have Baker Mayfield compete against the number 3 overall
Let's go,
pick
Bake.
in the same draft class, Sam Darnold.
Ew.
Oh,
God.
Of the Carolina Panthers.
No
And just
disrespect to
based upon
Sam.
the trajectory of Baker Mayfield's career, every single time his career has been at a low point. Every time that people started counting him out,
This is the
Baker
weirdest
Mayfield
little,
dug
like,
deep and proved
dance.
everybody wrong. I mean, we're talking about a quarterback
what's he
that
doing?
took one of the most poverty franchises in
There's a bunch
all
of lights around him.
sports to their most successful season in decades. So who's to say that his career isn't once again on an upward trend?
Get some,
Leave it in
man.
the comment section down below. What do you think is going to be next for Baker Mayfield?
What do you think's gonna be next? Let me tell you, Christian McCaffrey, Baker Mayfield. That connection is gonna be. Whoo. Yo, Baker's been blessed with great running backs his entire career. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, now Christian McCaffrey. Sheesh. But you know what? Christian McCaffrey can catch 1,000 times better than Nick Chubb can. So I think we'll see a beautiful, beautiful comeback player of the year for Christian McCaffrey, J.C. Horn, Baker Mayfield, one of them. I don't know. But, yeah. I'm going to say it. Panthers going to win the division. I don't care. We're making the playoffs at least as a wild card spot. Maybe. We're underdogs. Remember 2015? We were underdogs then. No one expected us to do a dadgum thing. I'm trying not to cuss here. But anyways, that's been it. Check out Microphone here on YouTube. Comment, like, subscribe on my own channel. Follow for daily Panthers content leading up to the season, week 1. Football analysis, reaction videos, scouring the internet for videos and clips so you don't have to. It's been Panther Inbound. Inbound Panthers out.
Aside from that,